in monies from the McKinney-Vento grant, and I'm the homeless liaison for this district for McKinney-Vento, and I'm just hearing this. So my question is that information available to me, and is it public knowledge? And I'd like to know how far back you went when you did this discovery to find this money that you saved, and are those kids' names and those families' names available? Because I am the homeless liaison, McKinney-Vento, and this is the first time I'm ever hearing that. So I'm just curious, is this information public knowledge? And to me, being the district liaison, is the names and the families and the dates that these kids were enrolled and that you discovered this, is this available to me when I get back to school on Monday, and is it available to the rest of us?
Hello,
I'd like to know that.
Names are not available. Excuse me, take your mic yourself.
Oh, no,
names are no. Finish your question,
My second question is, I applaud you, Susan Johnson, for what you said you get ready to do in this district. But for the kids right now that are getting ready to graduate in 11th and 12th grade that are having problems reading and writing and passing the RCTs and the SATs, what are we going to do right now immediately to remedy those evils and those solutions for those kids right now that are getting ready to graduate today? What are we going to do to help those kids in height, you know, in those schools right now that are on Novanac and that don't know what to do today? What are we going to do about those kids right now?
Okay. Right now, okay. I'll answer the second
part. Let me just say one thing, Ms. Johnson, just do me proud. So many of those kids over there at Height has done well. No, wait, excuse me. You can sit down, please. Excuse me. I heard your question.
I like to just stand.
No. Don't do that to me, okay? First of all, I just want to say one thing, and Ms. Johnson, you got it. I just want to say to Ms. Brazeley and the other staff over there, some of those kids have passed. Am I right, Ms. Brazeley? So don't do that to me publicly. Tell them, Ms. Brazeley, some of those kids over there did. Pass the regents and all, they might have problems, but their brain ain't dead. Tell them, Ms. Brazeley. And it's a matter of record.
Okay, good morning, neighbors, co-workers, staff. A couple of things. About the HYPE program, which is an alternative program for students leading to a Regents diploma. The Learning Annex also houses the Yale program, which is our school-based general education diploma program. In the January administration of the Regents, in spite of there being serious resource limitations at our Learning Annex, the students who did, in fact, take Regents exams did have, as a school, one of the highest passing ratios.
Excuse me, Ms. Brace. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, no. Go.
They did have, for the high school students that did test, one of the highest passing ratios.
Excuse me. Excuse us for 1 minute, please.
And we won't pretend that we discovered this year well-planned and well-managed. There are a number of problems with the staffing and other situations at the Learning Annex, because when the schedule was done, it appears that the past administration simply forgot to schedule teachers for that facility. We have been struggling all year to compensate for that and not run a deficit because the budget constraints due to past practices are very limited. And so we have a plan for height. We intend to, for the fourth quarter, make available to all secondary students access to a basic skills curriculum that is designed to ensure that all of our high school students reach 9th grade fluency in reading, writing, and math. And 9th grade fluency means that they are able to operate those basic skills of learning with a level of fluency that allows higher order thinking and more complex learning to take place. Right now, what we see as a result of many secondary students having very long suspension histories and other interruptions in instruction, that our students are very uneven in their skill mastery. It has always been my personal, and now with my appointment as assistant to the superintendent Susan Johnson, our cabinet's vision that our students will evidence mastery at this level. Now, I just want to back up and talk about one of the reasons we have so many interruptions in instruction and tie into Ms. Little's concerns about students that are, in fact, homeless under the law of McKinney-Vento, not our popular culture belief about it, but what the regulation says, that because we have so many families living in substandard housing, that means for those of you who have been paying attention, we are a dumping ground. People move here from all over the region and in fact the city, and they are living double and triple and quadruple in apartments. For instance, the last two tragedies that we had where we lost students, these were students that were living in temporary housing because it was substandard housing. Substandard housing by law is not legal or permanent. What we've been doing is we've been giving permanent status, okay, Ms. Cross, I'm sorry, permanent status, housing status, to families that cannot produce documents of permanent residency, and when they are displaced from their temporary living situations, because we have been not identifying them properly at registration, we have discovered we are being billed tuition when they move to other communities where they are paying attention and they are living doubled up and it's not permanent. That's a major problem. There is an investigation underway. The $1 million that the superintendent spoke about is growing from students who are in charter schools, private parochial placements, incarcerated, juvenile detention, other special placements. And we don't verify that they are in fact residents of our district before we pay the bill. You get this? I mean, I'm answering the question, Ms. Cross, I'm sorry, but it's important that people understand. Now, because we were not compliant in our McKinney-Vento identification, what that means is we were not given the questionnaire at registration as required by law. We were not identifying students. It's a lot of paperwork, people don't want to do it. That's the problem. And this administration is committed, number one, to making sure that people who are given jobs are trained to understand the rules, regulations, and policies that govern those jobs, and to ensure that you're trained properly, and we have the technology and personal, professional commitment to get the job done. Revenue recovery means that we will not only be collecting money that is due us through proper identification of homeless students, Ms. Little. We will file those stacks, I believe that is your responsibility, and we will not pay unverified tuition for students that may not live here. That's how we save money. It's a corrective action, and we are moving forward with it.
Thank you. Give a round of applause. All right. Thank you. And thank Sister Superintendent Johnson, you want to comment on that? Thank you. Wait.
The second question that was raised had to do with students who need additional assistance, be it in English or mathematics. And when I stepped out of the room briefly, so that you are aware, we do have a program that runs on Saturday in our high school, which offers additional services to our students. And if you walk out this door and you go to your right, you'll see about approximately 60 students right now receiving that additional assistance.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to go on record and say, my colleagues and I, and the cabinet and superintendent, we know that our school district is not on par academically. We know that. That's one of the reasons that we're here this morning. So anybody think that we don't know that, you're fooling yourself, because we know the state told us we're at the very, very bottom. And Mrs. Johnson, since she's been here, she's uncovered layer after layer. Anyone else have a question? Raise your hand, please. I don't know your name. Well, I can't see you. Told you I can't see well. Oh, hey, Miss Stella, how you doing? Good. Give my friend the mic, please. Got a new hairdo, too. Looks good on you, though.
Thank you. Good morning, Superintendent Johnson. My name is Christine Taylor. I'm past president of Barack Obama, ECC, and Marshall.
PTA president. Speak up.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. You were speaking about the restructuring of the middle schools. Now, ECC and Hagedorn, we, as a person that lives here and pays taxes, are we still paying for ECC and Hagedorn because those buildings are rented? So are we still paying taxes for those even though pre-K and kindergarten will no longer be housed there, or will they?
Pre-K will be housed at the Marshall School, and at Hagedorn we're going to have an elementary school I'm sorry, Hagedorn, we're not even there this
You're
year.
not there anymore?
No.
Okay.
No.
But
We used to use that for pre-kindergarten, I'm sorry, but this school year we're not using any space at Hagedorn, so we're not paying any, making any payments to them.
About ECC, are we still paying?
ECC, when we open up, will be an elementary school because you have to look at 400 students that you need to service, and we need to lease that facility, and that's why I mentioned that we're looking at reopening Rhodes as an elementary school.
Okay, the next thing was the security. You said you're going to have all this high-tech security for the school systems. Now, I went on the high school website a few times, and it wasn't even up. So are we going to have in place some type of safety measure or something to make sure that no one can hack in or the system doesn't go down, because that could disrupt a lot of things for the whole school district? And my other question was about the high school. You're going back to a regular high school instead of the smaller academies. Now, when I first came here, Dr. Clay was here, and he told me just to wait, everything will get better, but I still haven't seen anything. And I'm excited, but I'm not, I gotta see the change, because my son right now is going to 6th grade. So I want to bring him back to the school district, but you guys got, I gotta see.
We're gonna try to convince you and have you work with us, because you're a very hard-working PTA person. We need you back in the district. So please go make an appointment and go talk to Ms. Johnson, and talk to Mr. Brown, talk to Ms. Armstrong. Please go and try us. Help us, please. We're begging. We need you. Because see, I know what kind of work you do. We need you. So please give us a chance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, you want to respond to the transition of our high school? I realize you're limited in what you can say, since we have to reach out to our parents and have that approved by the Board of Education, but as much as you can share this morning.
Yes, good morning again, everyone. We are evaluating what we have currently in high school with respect to the 4 academies, the 4 different schools. If you're not aware, each one of those schools has a BEDS code, meaning that the state recognizes as an individual school and will have an accountability. There are tremendous operational problems with 4 independent schools trying to operate, I would say, in the same building, but if you look at the commons area, it's almost like one large room. And you know, as we went through the budget process, we asked the principals, how do they see this working? And they too saw the problems. The current principals recognized and saw the problems as well. And I hear it from students, I hear it from teachers, I hear it from parents. So there is clear a recommendation that we reorganize in a manner that will cause minimally the communication to occur more evenly and effectively and efficiently. We may be locked in to the BEDS codes. I am working with the state to see if we can dissolve the BEDS codes. But even if we don't, we will be able to have, as Superintendent Johnson has indicated, one principal or one person responsible for the operation of the high school.
Thank you. Thank you. Ms. Blaser, give the mic to Ms. Black. Ms. Black. I saw Ms. Blaser before I did Ms. Young, so I got to try to be fair. I'm trying. Okay, I'll be right to you. I just didn't see you. No, you, Aunt, I got to come to you last. Let somebody does not ask. Who had Dan up over here? Okay, see, I can't see that far. I told y'all I can't see that well. Just somebody else has got to make. I'll get to you in a minute, okay? Excuse me, please. Ms. Noble, I love you too. Go right ahead, Ms. Blanchard.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ms. Braisley, I want her to hear what I'm saying. Thank you. I first, Ms. Cross, want to congratulate Ms. Johnson for her vision. I would also like to commend her for having the backbone to take a stand for our children and not to succumb to the political whims of this community.
You got that right.
Today, she is receiving accolades because of all of the wonderful plans that she has for us. But in order for these plans to go forward, we must be supportive. We must believe that there is going to be a change. And as you know, I've been in this community since I was 9 years old. And I've been believing for a long time. And it comes to a point where you begin to lose that hope. But that hope has been renewed. And for those of us who have had that hope renewed, we must share that with people who are not here. We must let them know that these are not empty words and that we are going to stand forth to ensure that there is work, that we work with this entire cabinet and this board to make sure that they are not empty words. And I know I have to get to the question, but I have to have this time. Another thing I just want to mention to those of you, we do need to come out to the board meetings. And you need to see that our board meetings are conducted in a professional manner so that you are able to participate and feel that, yes, this is an academic setting. So therefore you come forth with suggestions, you come forth with questions that will help to move our district forward. Robin Braisley, are you talking again? And you know I don't deal with that. Now, my question, I want to make sure, Ms. Johnson, Ms. Cross, that this information that was shared today is shared at the churches, as I think Ms. Noble or somebody mentioned. You need to go out to the churches, get permission from the ministers, set up an appointment, share this vision if we're going to truly have this partnership. We also have to make sure that within each of these schools where our staff, many of our staff members have lost hope, they have to really buy into this and believe. One other thing, and I mean, I want to make sure that when we have our budget hearings for the community, that the information is shared in a manner that the public can understand, because that has been a problem. It's not clear as to what you're asking us to vote for when even though we've been supporting you with our budgets. Make sure that it's clear, make sure that the information is out in a timely fashion. Did I ask the question? No. Oh!
Please ask your question, Ms. Blanchard.
Yes, the question is, are you going to share with staff? Are you going to go into the churches? Are you going to do that? I'm sorry.
A statement, that's a question you're asking.
That's the question.
Okay, are you finished?
I'm finished.
Okay, take the mic. Okay, Ms. Sister Johnson.
Mrs. Blanchard, in response to your question, the cabinet will be taking, as we say, the show on the road, and we'll be doing that very soon.
Thank you. So we will be responding. Have the young lady, I don't know your name.
My name is Rachel Jarvis. I'm a parent of 3, so I have a child that's going to be joining the pre-K program. later this year. I have a child in the middle school and also at Barack Obama. And one of my teachers is right there.
Question?
It's more like, so I'm a working parent. I did try to participate in the PTA, and it's hard. It's hard to be a working parent, and all I would ask is that you consider different ways of communication, because I find it difficult to get information from the kids. I ask my kids every day, how was your day? But the communication, if there's a Facebook page for the school, or programs that are going on, Twitter accounts, there's Uvu and Skype for those of us who can't physically attend the PTA meetings. Can they be taped that we could watch them, later on? Could there be a summary of what happened at the meetings? Because I feel like...
Speaking about the board meetings?
The board meetings, even like the PTA meetings, I feel like by the time I find out something's happening, I missed out. Like, my child wasn't able to sign up for the ICANN Academy. He's on the waiting list. So I would just like to see more, like, we're in a technology world, if there could be more things available to those of us to have additional access. Maybe guidance counselors that are available one day a week before school or after school, because I can't always get there between 8 and 3. Those kind of things.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Johnson will respond, but I can respond this to you. You got to be careful what you put on the internet, and you got to be careful what you put on Facebook, because everybody's, say, for instance, you're in a meeting, you say something, you don't want the world to know it. So, but Ms. Johnson will respond to that. Ms. Johnson?
Yes, I understand the need to be more flexible in scheduling of activities in the district, and I, for one, made sure that I did it on a Saturday morning where it would be available to the parents, and if your child is with you, it's understandable. So as we plan activities throughout the school year, we will be looking at ways in which we can reach more parents by scheduling activities at different times where parents would be available to attend. So that's something we are mindful of.
Okay, thank you. We will try to have communication lines open better, okay, in the year to come. Okay, thank you. Ms. Young?
Good morning. I just want to speak to you briefly. Some of you know me as the dean at the high school, but I purposely dressed down today, as you would say, because I'm a resident of Hempstead, and I wanted to come and hear about what was happening in my district. And so I speak to you now as a resident of Hempstead for many years. First thing, I'd like to compliment this entire group, because I see a vision here. I haven't seen it in a long time. I've watched students come and go. I've watched people talk with hollow voices about what they were going to do. And 2 years later, 3 years later, I was still seeing the same results. But for me, this is the first time that I can tell you I was truly moved by what I heard today. And I think that we should all acknowledge that for the first time, instead of me having Nassau County and Hempstead Public Schools take money out of my pocket, and I don't know where it's going, today, at least, I know what's going on. I feel like I have been empowered to know, as a resident, what's happening here in Hempstead, and that's most important to me. My question is this. I have basically come in contact with a number of people who are working in the corporate world, who would like to either do internships or mentoring.
Is that your question?
My question is, who do I speak to in this group concerning that? Do I speak to you, Ms. Braisley, or do I come to Superintendent Johnson?
Superintendent Johnson.
Superintendent Johnson.
Superintendent Johnson will answer your question.
Regarding internships, we're looking at on the secondary level.
Yes.
That would be Mr. Julius Brown.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Tiller, over here, please. Thank you, Ms. Young.
Hello, my name is Shamika Perry Bell. I'm a parent here at Hempstead. I have a son that graduated, class of 2011, and although they had the lowest graduation rate in a very long time, my son is in college right now with a 3.3 average, so he did learn something here. I have to say that my daughter, she's now in 8th grade, and she's at the middle school with Mr. Williams, and this is her first year in Hempstead Public School, and I have to say I was very skeptical of putting her here. She came from RCA, she was in there since she's been in 1st grade, because of the challenges I had when my son was here. What I find is that we need to or I guess I should ask you, you're a technology person? Who is going to be the technology person?
What's your question?
The technology person. The person that does the transcripts, the person that keeps the kids ranked. Because what I find is that there's not consistency, and our children come out looking like they're not as smart as they are because they're not getting ranked correctly. So I want to know who's going to be in charge of that. And I also would like to know about the parent portal and how come there are certain teachers that feel like to email is a problem. Because in this world today, email is the way that things are being done. And I feel like, I understand it's not in people's contract to do it, but if you're here and you're a teacher and you want to help the parent, you should be able to email. So I don't know if you're able to make it part of their contract to do it, because I've had teachers tell me it's not part of their contract to email. So I have a problem with that. We live in the 21st century where everybody uses a computer for everything. So my question is about the transcripts and who you're going to have as technology to make sure that these kids and their grades are recorded correctly throughout the years, to make sure that when they take honor classes and AP classes that they have the extra points added. In other districts, if you take an honors class, you get an extra 3 points. If you take an AP class, you get an extra 5 points. Our children aren't getting anything for taking these honors and AP classes, and we are not making them look as smart as they are, and it's making them seem like they can't compete with everyone else, when in fact they can. Because like I said, I do have faith in the system, because like I said, my son did graduate in 2011, and he's in the second year of college doing very well, which means he did learn something. And there are people here that he wouldn't, nor would I, trade the experiences that he got here. But I do have a problem with people not doing their jobs.
Okay.
So the email is my question, the parent portal email, and about the transcripts.
Okay.
Thank you.
Ms. Johnson, would you answer that, please?
Yes, well, Mr. Brown's going to answer the guidance question.
No, it's not the guidance.
As far as the transcripts and all of that.
The guidance counselors, whoever's doing the technology.
But that's
That's
all
part
of
of
that.
it. He heard you. He heard you. But he heard you. Okay, answer.
Sure. The last 3 years, the district has transitioned from SASE, which was our old student management system, to Power School. In doing so, there was some mistranslations from the old transcripts to the new one. Children's grades 9 through 11, their transcripts, I can go and hit a button, they will print perfectly. Children beyond the 11th grade, as in the senior academy, some of their transcripts, we have to manually go through and proof them because they did not translate properly. It's not a misinformation by teachers or by guidance counselors with respect to the transcripts being correct. The transcript will always have on it a history of courses that each child took. That can't be changed. But what happened is, once again, when we transferred from SASE to Power School, there was some technology glitches that information didn't transfer correctly. So those things are indeed being corrected and manually input into the new system. As far as the...
Excuse me, wait, let him finish, please.
As far as the other question regarding emails, as Superintendent Johnson stated, that I think it was Project 19 that included the new phone system that will have those capabilities of communicating vis-a-vis email, text messages, et cetera, et cetera. We know that many of you do have these technologies, and you, like the rest of us, reading your emails and checking things on your way to and from the grocer or to and from work. So we will be using those means of media communication with you in the very near future. I believe that we will begin the installation of this new system during the summer, and hopefully, not hopefully, we will be ready for September 13th.
Excuse me, wait, you're talking out of turn.
Teachers have not, the teachers to my knowledge have not, I cannot speak for an individual, but as a unit, they do not object to the use of emails. Okay, I can't speak for an individual, what an individual may have said to you, but I know that the teaching unit is well aware. In fact, we save a lot of money. We no longer send memorandums out to teachers, or we don't even send out, we have these training manuals for certain things. We post them, and we send them to them vis-a-vis email. and they may print them if they choose to. We'll cut down tremendously on the amount of copying that we're doing because we're communicating vis-a-vis emails.
Excuse me, Ms. Superintendent Johnson said that they are going to deal with that between now and September. They cannot have it ready this year, to be very honest, but next year in September, that will go into transplant because, what? Wait, no, wait, I'm gonna call you. Wait, what?
I'm also an educator and resident of Hempstead. I'm also an educator and resident of Hempstead. My name is Stephanie Morris. My question is, we were talking about basic skills addressing basic skills as part of one of our deficiencies that we have in the district. I understand that balanced literacy is one of the programs being used in the elementary schools for reading. Is that true, balanced literacy?
Excuse me, Ms. Armstrong.
How are we...
Excuse me, wait a minute. You want to answer to your question?
Let him finish your question.
Okay.
How are we investigating or looking into that program as to how it's really helping our children to read properly? Because I have 12th graders that I'm teaching now that are having great difficulties with critical thinking skills, with their reading skills, and I really think the district should look into the program of balanced literacy or either the training of teachers so that the children are really mastering their reading skills before they leave the elementary and middle school and get to the high school. Also, what is the plan for training teachers in the high school that are dealing with the basic skills deficiencies already? And how are we going to put the funds in the budget so that the teachers have the resources to coordinate the lesson planning that is going to be needed to work with basic skills deficiencies of high school students?
Okay, thank you. Ms. Armstrong? It's on.
Currently at the elementary. Doesn't sound like it. Green light.
Where's the technician?
Currently at the elementary schools, we're using a combination. I wouldn't say all teachers use balanced literacy. We have right now as our core reading program, Reading Street. But as a part of Reading Street, we do have guided reading, which students are instructed at their, which gives students an opportunity to be instructed at their reading level. There are some teachers who are not as comfortable with the Reading Street and they prefer a balanced literacy program, which means they're in charge of conducting running records for the students and determining what levels they're at and choosing from their book rooms which books would best accommodate their students based upon interest and their different academic reading needs. What we're doing moving forward is investigating best practices, getting feedback from teachers as to how the current reading programs we have in place is actually working for them, looking at student results because data is very important. We have a combination of things that are happening right now that we can get results from, our NWEA scores, which we do take 3 times a year. We've also administered what we call a scholastic reading inventory, and all this gives us information regarding kids' reading scores. We're going to be looking at it because, as you know, moving forward with the Common Core, it requires more text complexity, and we need to make certain we have a combination of books in students' hands, informational text, as well as other literacy text in the students' hands, but it also has to be, they have to be exposed at their grade level, even when reading below grade level. We're looking at technology-based programs that will work for our students. There are a lot of programs out there. We just have to make certain they're the right programs in our district. And as far as training is concerned, we're looking to start training over the summer. Is part of our vision and our goal to make certain that teachers receive what they need over the summer, so in September they'll be ready to meet the students' needs instead of constantly figuring it out as we go along. So we haven't laid out everything exactly how it's going to be done, but we have established some partnerships. Right now in our schools last week, we had someone to come out and do a needs assessments where they observed the classrooms, the instructional process that takes place in the classroom, as well as met with groups of teachers and students to get their feedbacks as to where they think our trouble areas are. So once we get the feedback from that partnership, we're going to be using that information to move forward and determine what programs we need to have in place for our students this coming school year.
Reverend Ryan, thank you.
Thank you. My question has two parts. You were talking about roads and rebuilding. Are you going to find monies for that? It won't be the taxpayers? Because I can't have another tax increase. It's just crazy. I can't do it. I can't pay another plug for nickels. That's number one. Julius Brown and Regina Armstrong mentioned the training. And when you mentioned the technology, I know that the couple of previous years with the Promethean boards, teachers were resistant to that. Very resistant. Every teacher is not on board, though. Let's be real.
Let's keep it real.
We have A and B parents and we have A and B teachers above and beyond. And some of them, Mr. Persico, above and beyond. We have a slew of them. But we have a lot that are resistant to change. So are we going to have training for them for the new technology that we're going to be having? Those are my questions. That tax thing is really like, bugging me.
Okay. But, you did hear me say we met with
Two levels. We looked at the total cost for a new school would be $45 million. With the aid from the state, we're looking at a balance of $14 million. And as I have indicated earlier in the year, we're looking at $14 million, and I have been meeting with our local Congress representatives, and they have indicated that they will be attempting to do everything that they can to reduce that cost. I am not looking at the community at this time spending any money to do the work that we need to do at Rhodes Elementary.
Thank you.
Now,
one of the roles that I play in the cabinet, which I think is pretty crucial, is really looking at areas of compliance. And most of the questions that have been raised today about the records keeping, the technology, the training, there are actual state, federal, and district policy mandates for all of these things to occur. What we have found since coming on board in January is that in most areas, our district is not compliant. And so many of the problems appear to be related to like poor staff morale or training or other things, when in fact, for over 15 years, the superintendent's office has not made provisions to adequately disseminate policy changes at the state, federal, and local level in a meaningful way to staff, students, and parents. And so what has happened is we have a non-compliant culture. So in addition to all the things, the balanced literacy, the record keeping, all those issues, we also have an issue to comply with the state mandate of a district professional development plan. And within that plan, the training for staff should be clearly identified and articulated. A change in organizational culture requires a lot more than jargon. It requires people to develop new relationships with each other. Now, I just wanted to add one other thing, Ms. Cross, please give me 30 seconds more. With regard to the balanced literacy question and the skill level at the secondary level, 20 years ago, parents working with staff identified that children leaving elementary school by and large were on grade level. What we have discovered and why the superintendent has launched her alternative and suspension diversion initiatives is because at the secondary level, our ineffective understanding of discipline and SAVE regulations have caused us to suspend our students sometimes in excess of 100 days. This uneven instruction is a major contributor to poor mastery of skills at the secondary level. So in addition to the balanced literacy in the K-12 building of curriculum, we do have in place and in intention in revenue to ensure that secondary students, number one, are not put out of school so much, that they get more than 2 hours of home tutoring, and that we provide a full day of instruction with comprehensive student support to meet the needs of secondary students. It's not just teaching them right in the first grade. It's having a culture of excellence and high performance shared by all. Staff lines up when they're given the tools to succeed. An administration that puts a smart board in the classroom and then tells the teacher to wing it is not making the provision. This team is committed to changing that. We are partners in educating our children.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Madam Superintendent, I have to say that as union president, I have interacted with her for the last 5 months, and one thing that I publicly acknowledge, her message is always the same. It doesn't matter, it doesn't change, if it's one-to-one, if it's in a whole group, or when we're not around, or I'm not around, I hear that this is the same message, it is consistent. And I think as a starting point, that is very important, and I want to thank the superintendent for that, because I do believe that, as Ms. Blyden said, many of our staff have lost the hope, but we are still hanging in there. And I think if the message continues to be consistent, that will allow us to move forward.
Thank you.
Number two, as teachers, and I know we've been dealing with regarding emails and things like that, those are things that we have never been against. We have always said to the district, as you know, we have never been against, but I think, but we do need to come to some sort of accord in the sense of how are the protocols. And I think that's the biggest issue, because especially when we have had issues with our technology. As you know, anything that we put in writing or do not put in writing, if it doesn't make it on time, something is broken, could hypothetically be an issue, a liability to the district or to us.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, because as we say, emails are very, very, very important. So please, we really need that. Okay, next.
And the question quickly, the superintendent did mention that at the elementary school for next school year, the average class size will be 25 students.
If we can, we're going to try.
You're going to try.
We're going to try. We're going on record. We're going on record, Mrs. Like, trying very, very hard.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Any idea more or less what you're going to try also for secondary?
Well, you know, don't let me ask, let the superintendent get back to you on that, please. Oh, okay, thank you, Ms. Bracy. Ms. Bracy, I want to give you a round of applause. I thank you so much for your cooperation. Thank you. Your name?
Hello, my name is Gloria Robles.
Excuse me, you're a resident of Hempstead?
I'm from a newspaper. And
what news, wait a minute? What
Noticia. It's a Spanish newspaper. Yes, it's regarding what the lady was asking before. There are many parents that are Latino, from the Latino community. It's a big percentage of students, and their problem, which is a reality, is that they don't read. Many of them, not all, they don't read and they don't understand English well. And there is a lack of communication problem because the language barrier. I would like to know, what are you going to do in order to
accommodate? Yes,
yeah,
but you know, we listen. Problem. Let me just say this to you. We do that very, very well. Excuse me. Get the mic to the next person. In this district, excuse me, I don't know that you're not aware, but we communicate very, very well with the Spanish community. We do. No, you can't answer your question. Excuse me, no, I'm answering your question because we're cutting close. And if you want to talk to me afterwards, feel free to. But we do very good with that. Very, very, the president of our union can tell you, Mr. McGowan can tell you, that's not a problem. That's not a problem in this district. We communicate. Excuse me, we have a translator right here.
We have a translator right here.
See the translator right there? Now wait a minute, audience, please. You can take your seat. Wait. No, question period's over. I'll talk to you after the meeting.
It's a parent. It's a parent right here.
I have to speak to the lady behind you, okay? Listen, excuse me, we have a translator. I'll speak to you after the meeting, as I said. No. I said I'll speak to you after. Young lady, your question?
Okay.
I'll speak to you afterwards.
I have a very, very important question for the board. I'm a parent and I'm a taxpayer. I didn't live in Hempstead for 30 years like everybody else. I only live in Hempstead for 10 years. I'm in charge of whatever is going on in Hempstead. My direct question for the board is, I heard one thing that it says, you have to be on it to win it. The second thing that I heard is, return the law on Hempstead. Since I live in...
Excuse me. I didn't hear what you said the last question. Direct your question to me, please. It's not a board.
The vision that I heard was wonderful. But I heard somebody saying from the board, return the law on Hempstead. We are already out of law, hearing a presentation from somebody who, according to the state, should not be acting as a superintendent. What is the answer from your board to us that we have a legal superintendent who has denied a waiver to come back to work as a superintendent? She was here before and did nothing for the district. What she's going to do now? Acting as without law.
No, don't do that. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yes. 1 second, Parsley, and then I'm bringing the meeting to a closure. 1 second. 1 second. Give him the mic for 1 second.
Let's be clear about something. The state education department does not have the legal authority to appoint a superintendent of any school district. Let's be clear, Ms. Johnson is a certified, qualified, competent administrator. Someone stood up and questioned, what is the district going to do about children that are in failing classes right now? That's the question you should have addressed to Dr. Garcia. Ms. Johnson was not here. Ms. Johnson is not responsible. Ms. Johnson has done something that has never happened in the history of the Hempstead School District. She came to the community. She let everything be known. It was not a pretty picture she painted, but she painted a picture of where we're going. Ms. Johnson is of Hempstead, about Hempstead, and this community will stand for her. Bottom line, the state education department, I find it awfully ironic that the state education department has such great insight into Hempstead. Where were they when they created a new bottom here and we became the lowest performing school district on Long Island and we had one of the highest dropout rates in New York State? The state education department was noticeably absent. They were noticeably absent. Maybe they're appearing now because Ms. Johnson has uncovered some funds that was being paid to them that they weren't entitled to get. I don't have a question, I have a statement. All right, it's time for us to come together. Our children deserve better. This lady deserves a chance.
All right. At this time, we are going to close. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out. Wish you God's best.